When my phone buzzed at 6:12 in the morning, I thought it was just another pointless work notification or maybe one of those random promotional messages that somehow slipped past the spam filter. I rubbed my eyes, rolled over, and grabbed my phone without thinking twice. But the moment I saw the first few words previewed on the lock screen, "I'm leaving you," my entire body went cold. I sat up so fast I got dizzy, unlocked the phone, and read the rest of the message while my hands shook uncontrollably. "I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old babe. Don't try to call me. I'll have my lawyer contact you." Mark, that was it. After 12 years of marriage, a shared home, shared finances, years of trying to have a baby together, holidays, fights, reconciliations, and everything in between. He ended our marriage with a casual text like he was canceling a gym membership. I remember staring at the screen as if the words could somehow rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Something that didn't sound like the most humiliating blow of my entire life. I kept thinking, what kind of man does this? What kind of human being throws someone away like a piece of trash? And the worst part, the part that still stings even now, was the phrase, 20-year-old, babe. He wrote it like he was proud of it, like leaving me for someone. Barely old enough to legally drink was some kind of accomplishment. So before I get into the full story, I need to ask you, was I wrong for what I did next? Because I promise you, what happened afterward was not something I ever imagined myself doing. The truth is, none of this came out of nowhere. If I rewind the story, the cracks in our marriage didn't appear all at once. They showed up slowly, subtly, like hairline fractures in glass. Mark and I had been married since I was 28, and he was 32. When we first met, he was charming in a way that felt almost dangerous, like he knew exactly how to say all the right things to make me feel special. He was a marketing consultant with big dreams and a bigger ego. I was a graphic designer who found comfort in stability and routine. For a while, we balanced each other out. He brought excitement, spontaneity, passion. I brought grounding, patience, and the ability to clean up messes he didn't even notice he'd made. The first few years of marriage were good, great even. We traveled. We built a life. We talked about the future in that naive way where everything seems possible. But as the years went on, his charm sharpened into criticism. His spontaneity turned into irresponsibility, and his passion morphed into selfishness. He spent more nights out with coworkers. He stopped complimenting me. He started making comments about my body, my job, my routines. Nothing was ever said directly. It was always wrapped in humor or sarcasm. "You're getting soft, babe," or "You should dress younger," or "You're so boring lately." Meanwhile, I was the one keeping our home running, managing our finances, pushing him to chase promotions, supporting him through every failed business idea he convinced himself would make us rich. I didn't realize at the time how much emotional weight I was carrying alone. Things got worse about 2 years before the text. Mark hit some kind of midlife crisis, though he refused to call it that. He suddenly wanted to dye his hair, buy a motorcycle, and spend hours at the gym. He started following dozens, literally dozens, of barely adult fitness influencers online. He downloaded TikTok. He upgraded his wardrobe to tight shirts and expensive shoes that made him look like a middle-aged man trying too hard. But I never said that out loud. I kept telling myself it was just a phase. I tried to be supportive. But deep down, I felt the distance growing between us like a widening canyon. I would wake up next to him and feel more alone than if I were truly alone. I tried to talk to him. I tried so many times. But every conversation ended with him minimizing my feelings or turning the blame on me. "You're too emotional," he'd say. "You worry about everything. Stop nagging me. Stop acting insecure." I know now those were red flags, huge ones. But when you're inside the relationship, when you've invested years of your life and so much love, it's hard to see things clearly. It's like trying to examine your own reflection while standing too close to the mirror. The breaking point happened 3 months before the text message. Mark started coming home later and later. One night, he stumbled in smelling like cheap perfume. And when I asked him about it, he laughed in my face. "You're imagining things," he said. "Maybe you're insecure because you don't take care of yourself like you used to." That sentence, it cut deeper than any knife ever could. But I swallowed it. I always swallowed everything, thinking if I stayed calm, the storm would eventually pass. The storm didn't pass. It grew. Then one weekend he told me he had a work retreat in Miami. I believed him. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but I genuinely believed him. Turns out he wasn't alone. He had flown out with her, the 20-year-old babe. She wasn't a coworker. She wasn't a business partner. She wasn't anything except a girl he met online who posted thirst traps and motivational captions. When he came back from that trip, something was different. He was colder, detached, almost smug. It was like he had already emotionally left our marriage, but didn't bother telling me. I remember him standing in the kitchen, scrolling on his phone, smiling down at the screen like a teenager texting his crush, and I stood there stirring a pot of pasta like a prop in the background of his life. I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know how wrong. So when that 6:12 a.m. text came, part of me wasn't shocked, but the cruelty, the disregard, the almost gleeful tone, that shattered me. He hadn't loved me for a long time, and I had spent years shrinking myself to fit into a space he didn't even appreciate. But before I tell you what I did next, because trust me, things got messy, I need you to think about something. If you were in my position, if your husband of 12 years ended your marriage by text and ran off with someone, barely out of her teens, what would you have done? Seriously, tell me in the comments what your reaction would have been, because I was standing at a crossroads that changed everything. Alright, so here's what happened next. After crying until my eyes were swollen and my throat felt raw, I realized I couldn't sit there and let him dictate the narrative. He wanted to throw me away quietly. He wanted to disappear and pretend like I never existed. No, absolutely not. So I did what any scorned, heartbroken, but suddenly empowered woman might do. I took inventory of our life. And I mean everything. Our shared accounts, our property, our insurance, our car titles, our investments, the debts in his name, the debts in my name, the assets that were legally marital property. Turns out, Mark wasn't nearly as financially independent as he liked to pretend. He loved the flashy lifestyle. But guess who handled all the boring, important adult responsibilities? Me. And because I handled them, I knew exactly where every dollar went, what was owed and what was legally joint. Mark didn't realize that abandoning the marriage without warning and doing it by text actually gave me legal leverage. A lot of it. I called the lawyer first, not him. When I explained the situation, the lawyer told me something I will never forget. If he wants a divorce, he's not going to like how much it costs him. We filed immediately. In my state, marital assets had to be split fairly. And guess what? Since he was the one abandoning the marriage for another woman, the court was not sympathetic to him. I froze our joint accounts, not illegally, but in the exact way the lawyer told me to, which protected my portion. I transferred the car title that was already in my name back fully to me. I secured the house because the mortgage was tied to my income, not his. When he finally tried calling me days later, probably thinking he could smooth talk his way back into control, he discovered that he didn't have the access he used to. He left me some furious, profanity-filled voicemails about how I was ruining his life and overreacting. Meanwhile, he was posting beach photos with her on Instagram like he was 20 again. The climax came during the divorce hearing. Yes, he actually showed up tan from Miami, wearing a floral shirt that looked ridiculous in a courtroom. His girlfriend waited outside because she didn't want to deal with negativity. According to him, the judge reviewed everything, including the timestamps of his messages, his abandonment, and the financial evidence. Mark expected to walk away free, clean, and ready to play sugar daddy in Miami. Instead, the judge ordered him to pay me alimony for several years, give up his share of the house, and take responsibility for the majority of our marital debt, including the credit cards he secretly used to impress his new girlfriend. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I just sat there feeling relieved. Not victorious, not vengeful, just finally free. He stormed out yelling at me, calling me manipulative and cold-hearted, but I didn't even look at him. His girlfriend posted a passive-aggressive quote on Instagram later that day about toxic ex-wives, which honestly made me laugh. In the aftermath, things slowly shifted for me. I started sleeping better. I started eating again. I redecorated the house, taking down everything that reminded me of him. I signed up for classes I had always wanted to take. I traveled with friends. And most importantly, I learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. Mark, on the other hand, didn't stay in Miami long. The 20-year-old babe apparently got bored of living with a man drowning in debt and legal payments. She dumped him publicly, very publicly, on social media. Last I heard, he moved back to our city and was renting a small apartment near the airport. We haven't spoken since, and honestly, I prefer it that way. So here's my final takeaway from all of this. Sometimes the ending you never wanted is the beginning you desperately needed. Sometimes the people who break you are the same, people who unintentionally free you. Thank you for listening to my story. If you were on my side through all of this, please like this video. Subscribe for more stories like this, and let me know in the comments what you think about the whole mess. I'll see you all in the next story.